This is an absolutely gorgeous spot. The trees down across the trail are becoming pretty annoying. We'll walk down here and see what that looks like. Okay, here we go. Starting this painting out with some transparent red oxide to sketch in the composition and the design. Quickly, obviously, here with the time lapse, laying in some of the shadow shapes and the darker values. Also with some of the lighter shapes and values. Here we slow down now. Real time. Mixing up some dark shadow colors here. That's tend to be the way I start out, is with my darker values and build up to the lighter. I mean, I do add some light in there to, give something to compare and contrast to, because until you get everything filled in, you really don't know that you have your values correct. So it's always a good idea to get the canvas covered as quickly as possible. I did not do a preliminary value study on this. I should. I just never. I always feel like I'm on a day like today. That day there, I was, time was, because it was about an hour drive up there, and then by the time I rode my bicycle back, just then I have to get home and try to get my kids off the school bus. So there's just time is critical. So I just do as fast as I can to sketch in. And on a small painting like this, I can kind of get away with it. But always a good idea to value study before you start. It helps you get the idea down. So like if you watch me here, I kind of like make some ghost brush strokes because I'm not committing to it. I'm making the decisions on the fly. Or if you do your value study, you've made all the decisions ahead of time. So that's why it's a good idea. So I should take my own advice. This foreground rock, obviously being the closest thing to me, is going to have the most saturated greens of those moss colors, and the sun catching it. I mean, they're just almost fluorescent sometimes the way the sun catches those mosses, and it makes a nice pop there to lead into the painting. I developed my composition around the third principles of thirds, and I laid out the that main waterfall on the left to kind of like be the dominant third. And then the one on the right-hand side, I held it over and will subdue it more than the other one, so it, kind of is there, but it doesn't pop as much as the one on the left, which is the center of interest once this is all fleshed out and finished up. It's like right now I'm just kind of keeping all the values in the middle, no real strong color. Just build up to everything. Here I am going to clean off the palette, get a nice fresh clean surface to start mixing some color as this is coming along in its development. Kind of helps to keep everything clean, your colors cleaner. I'm not using my three color palette on this one. I introduced my fuller range of colors. It's not the complete range that I use, but it's titanium white there on the left, lemon, cad lemon yellow, yellow, cad yellow medium, transparent red oxide was what I was using for my warm red, and alizarin crimson for my cool red, and then just ultramarine blue. So basically 5 colors plus white. Having the simplified palette really makes, keeping your color harmonies a lot easier, and kind of lets you be more intuitive on your color mixes, because you can lean it one way or the other using a warmer or cooler shade. And especially in a landscape painting, you can cool off the distance and neutralize the colors by getting your complementary colors to gray it out. And then as you come towards you, more saturation, and there would be more yellow in it. Something farther away is not going to have as much yellow as something close to you, because yellow would be your warmer color that you have on your palette. So that's what I don't really even think about the colors. I think about warm and cool, and light and dark. So you play those against each other. It's how you can build depth and contrast, which is what is interesting in a painting to see. I do tend to fuss around a little too much. I'm still learning and getting the confidence to just put the brush stroke down and leave it be. That's just years of working. I start building the highlights on these rocks. See, once you get your middle values and your base colors, you can start thinking about highlights. I think like early on, like when I was first painting, I wanted to get those highlights in. That was what really attracted me. That bright light. But save those for the last. And this rock is down in the shadows, so it's you got to keep the light that's striking that rock, it's in the shadows, so it's not going to be as bright as the rocks up getting direct sunlight, even though that is a lit surface. It's not direct sunlight hitting it. Yeah, and there's a lot of bouncing around reflected light in those rocks down there underneath the waterfall. And contrary to like when I was first starting out painting, you can't. It's easier to lighten a dark than it is to darken a light. But painting alla prima like this, you have to work back into your light sometime. And like I say, once again, using that limited palette, you don't risk muddying up the color so much. And you can work back into a lighter passage with some darker color and rebuild your shadows and darker values, as long as you don't mess with it too much. Just put the brush stroke down and leave it be. Now, kicking these shadows in, the cast shadows with that blue, really helps build that depth and that sense of realism in the scene. we're getting close to finishing up here. Just kind of adjusting some edges and popping in some highlights and just putting some final touches to it. It's a really beautiful spot to paint. I'll be going back for sure. I just wonder how long the water flows there. I mean, I'm sure summertime it'll be like most of the streams around here. It'll be dried up without much water flow. And in the summertime you get to battle the ticks and the mosquitoes, which already had some flying around me standing there here in the end of February. Just put some indications of the water flowing around those rocks down there. I said not wanting to draw a whole lot of attention down there. Getting ready to put the finishing brush strokes on it, and it'll be ready to pack up and head back to the truck. All right, I am done. Time to head home. I don't know how, I didn't log how many miles. It wasn't even probably 5 miles because I just rode back, caught some single track, headed north, scoped out a few spots that look like possible painting spots. There's some nice, really nice runoff down through there, some big boulders and moss covered logs and rocks. I mean, really nice. I haven't been up here before. Surprisingly, I've been a lot of places here in southern Indiana and not here. Excuse me, I'm still catching my breath. Of course, the last quarter mile up here to the parking lot's uphill. I feel like I got a pretty good painting done. It's packed up in here. When I get home, I'll take it out and maybe I'll do a little critique session in the studio. It's just a little 6x8. Well, that's it for today's painting session up here at German Ridge. Okay, back here in the studio with my little 6x8 plein air piece I did today at German Ridge up in Hoosier National Forest in southern Indiana. We're going to do a little critique here real quick, just point out some things, composition, value, color, that kind of thing that I either did or didn't get right. I don't know how well this is going to show up with the studio lights shining on this wet paint, so there's some glare and stuff to deal with. So first thing, this thing, caught my eye. I'm always looking for rocks and water compositions, and this had a really cool cascade stepping down and then splitting off and then joining back together. And way I arranged it compositionally wise is with this little waterfall right on about the 3rd mark there, and it's where the brightest water is besides this spot back here, just to kind of step you around the painting there. I didn't line this one up with the 3rd because that would have made too equal of spacing, so I held this one over a little farther and kind of downplayed it so it doesn't stand out as much as this one, because I kind of want you to come in and around kind of like that. This foreground rock with the moss on it kind of helps give a lead in to come up and around. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I've not done anything to it since I came out of the trail with it. Came straight home here to the studio, and otherwise, the color is really, just some warm and cool greens, some warmth in this underside of this rock. There was some reflecting light bouncing back up, because the sun was coming from this direction, and so I got some highlights on the sides of the rocks. Grade and neutralized these, and down, didn't put any detail in these rocks in the background. Same with the water, just that one little brush stroke of, it's not white paint. There's a little bit of blue mixed in it. As with everything, there's no white paint. Maybe just a few little spots of white paint, just to help give a little bit of sparkle to the painting. But overall, it's a really simple design. I'm pretty happy with it. There may be a few things I try to adjust on it here after a while, but I'm liking it. And also, like all these rocks that are going off, like that one there, that one's going off kind of close to the corner. Like I said, that dark value doesn't go all the way. It's kind of knocked out. Same way here. Don't want anything going off actually in the corners of the canvas. And or a solid line, like I'll just kind of knock that out so that there's nothing really drawing your eye to the edges of the canvas, besides you want to stay in here moving around looking. So, okay, that's my critique of my own painting. You can always tell me what you think in the comments. Thank you.